Muggsy Bogues was truly a one-of-a-kind player. Standing at just 5'3", he was the smallest player in NBA history. And for 14 seasons, mostly with the Charlotte Hornets, he showed that despite his height, he had the heart, the toughness, and the basketball IQ to excel. I had a chance to talk to Mr. Bogues about his career, his recent induction to the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame, and his new book.
Growing up in the city of Baltimore, trying to pursue a game, actually was a hobby at the time. Just like any other kid, I just want to go out there, out the outdoors and play and try to have some fun. And me, as a small kid, trying to pursue this game of basketball, it was challenging. A lot of kids was really cruel at the time, but I was so interested in the game, and I was doing anything in terms of wanting to learn that game. So being able to get that information from my blessing, Mr. Leon Howard, who taught myself, and Reggie Williams, who also grew up with me in the inner city of Baltimore. I mean, gave us that information, and from there, we was able to go on and make something really, better out of our life and great and gain this reputation, I should say, in that inner city as one of the best basketball players in that era. So, breaking down those barriers, man, because a lot of coaches wanted big guards. That was something that I was so willing to do, and I'm so grateful that I was able to make it through it.
Throughout your career, you showed you were gritty, you were tough. And so coming from a city like Baltimore, that was in the midst of a drug epidemic, how was it for you to kind of get away from those negative influences and, stick to the basketball court?
Well, it was nothing. It was no way around it. Unfortunately, like I said, for me, being in that situation, got shot at the age of 5. So I think that was something that kind of understood what type of situation you was in. But the basketball, the game itself, gave us a place to where we can go and escape. It was a safe haven for us. Our recreation center allowed us to have a place where we can just go and escape for how many hours we needed to in order to keep that idle mind active. And that was, one of our ways of getting out of Baltimore, being able to have those type of platforms, those resources where we didn't have to, rely on other things and other measures of trying to make ends meet.
You spend most of your career for the Charlotte Hornets. And so rightfully so, you deserve the honor of, to be in the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame. And so tell me, what was that moment like for you to find out about your induction?
It was great. I mean, like you just alluded to, I'm not from North Carolina. Born and raised in Baltimore, but being down here a majority of my life, and I was so thankful and grateful for that opportunity that I was honored to be inducted into the North Carolina Hall of Fame, to go in with some of the great athletes as well as some of the dignitaries and physicians that got put in there. So it was a great honor to be inducted with those individuals, and just to be grateful and be, thankful that people would appreciate the things that you was able to do throughout your career, and being able to do it in the state of North Carolina for Wake Forest and for the Charlotte Hornets. I mean, it was such a blessing.
You spent your career with the Hornets, and the '90s basketball is often referred to as like the best decade of basketball. And so I'm curious, is there any memory with the team that stands out to you the most?
Oh, so many memories, too many memories. During my 9 years stint with the Charlotte Hornets. I mean, from the very first day we came in, I mean, it was an eye opener within itself. In our arena, which we had, which we called it Live at the Hive at the time, over in Tyrone, 24,000 screaming fans. The very first game, the ladies came dressed up in gowns. The men was dressed up in tuxedo. We was playing the powerhouse team, Cleveland Cavaliers. They had their star powers, Mark Price, Brad Daugherty, and Ron Harper. And here it is. Unfortunately, the place was electrifying, I might add, too. But unfortunately, we wound up losing about 40 points. But that let you know, as we walked off the court, the entire crowd stood up and gave us a standing ovation, and that let us knew that this was a very special place to be at and play for, and hopefully we can, make something going forward. And thankful for myself and Del Curry, we was the two longest player to ever, lace it up for the Charlotte Hornets.
You mentioned that they had stars as well, but you guys had some stars too. Playing with guys like yourself, Alonzo Mourning, Dale Curry, Larry Johnson, and you guys were one of the most exciting teams in the league at one point. And so, with today's Hornets, kind of bringing back that excitement not just to the league but to the city of Charlotte. You know, what do you think that they had that excitement, they're missing that playoff experience? So what do you think is that missing piece for that team to kind of get to the level you guys were on?
Well, just to go back to the tradition of the Hornets, I mean, that was a maturation of growth when we was able to first come into the league, get that experience in '88, then make the playoffs in '93 after 5 years in the league, and then from there, that's when the Hornets continue to represent and continue to keep themselves on that stage. With this year's team, I think with the guys like LaMelo, and Miles Bridges and PJ Washington, Gordon Hayward, the core crew, Terry Rozier, those guys, I think they came and made the city relevant again. I mean, they pretty much put the team back on that stage to where the fans was excited going to the games. The place once again was electric and electrifying with Melo running the show. And we had hope. We had a lot of hope, and it gives also a lot of hope for the future. So I believe that, Mike and Mitch Kupchak understand what they have, and now they got to understand how to continue to add pieces to build, try to bring a championship team here in the city of Charlotte.
And so despite your career, being over, you're still involved with the community. And you started the Muggsy Bogues Family Foundation, and a nonprofit that offers scholarships and assistance to students and community outreach programs to at-risk families. What do some of these interactions look like for you, to be able to still give back to those in Charlotte?
Well, I mean, I'm so thankful that I'm in this position where I can do what we are doing and trying to help these families, these individuals, these kids, to try to, reach their full potential. And being able in the Muggsy Bogues Family Foundation, that's what we stand for, trying to continue to provide for those at-risk youth and families to live a better quality life by addressing the food insecurities in our community, access to good education and job training. Being able to provide those type of scholarships for these students, allowing them to have be financially free at the end of their last term. I mean, it's a blessing, because that's some of the stigmas that keep these kids and some of these students, held back because they're worried about that debt that they got to carry forward.
How important is it for you to kind of have that impact and legacy away from the basketball court?
Well, it's important. I mean, it's something that comes within. My mom instilled some great values. I think my mom and dad instilled great values in myself, to where if I ever got in a position where you can help those less fortunate, then you need to do it. And that's what I'm trying to do. Just trying to create a lane, create a platform where these individuals can have a little more freedom in terms of not have to have so much on their plate, to where they be able to go out and fulfill their dreams.
I know you just released a new book called Muggsy: My Life from a Kid in the Projects to the Godfather of Small Ball, which is your second book. And so, tell me what led to this new novel, and what are some of the key things that you discussed in the book?
Well, I want to put it back out there. It's been some time since I did my first one, which was in '94. And that was when I first entered into the league. And I think my pops had passed away early on in that summer, as well as one of my good friends, Reggie Lewis. And then when they approached me about doing the book, I mean, it was something that, we kind of went ahead with. And I think that was more at the very beginning of my career leading up into it. This one, we had a little time to kind of live a little, impact a little in terms of some of the colleagues that I played with, some of the current players that are playing today. And I think a lot of things that we go through, especially with the pandemic that took place over the last couple of years, I mean, that mind can get a little, disconnected, to where we get less confidence in ourselves, to where we believe in ourselves and we try to overcome those obstacles that's placed in front of us. And I want to just give kids and anyone who's going through these down periods in their life, that where they can feel like a guy like myself, with all the obstacles that I had to overcome, but I always felt like it was the light at the end of the tunnel. Believing that believing that you're in control of your own destiny, regardless of what anyone tell you or what anyone say, or try to put you in a box. Because everybody always try to tell you what you should be and what you ought to be. But confidence within yourself always dictate who you want to be. And that's something that I always carried in my head for quite some time.
You call yourself the Godfather of Small Ball. And so with a wave like that's kind of taken over the league in recent years, do you feel as though you would dominate in today's game?
Well, not so much dominate, but I think I would be relevant. I mean, especially with the rule change. I mean, you can't hand check anybody. The lane is wide open. Nobody is camping in the lane. We got a lot of great shooters out here. So I felt like I had the ability to get around my opponent to make something happen for myself as well as others. And then defensively, the way the guys dribble the ball these days, I felt like, I probably would have had, I probably could have made it real challenging for them to get the ball across half court. So I feel like I could have done well in this area. And that's one of the reasons why, we want to continue to let folks know that anything is possible, regardless of what people may place on you.
And so, is there any particular player that's currently in the league that you love to watch and kind of reminds you of your own game and style of play?
Well, nobody remind me of myself the way they play, but I love the way, of course, Steph. And I'm such a fan of Stephen Curry and Chris Paul, watching those guys play. And of course, I mean, the game within itself. I mean, I'm just a fan of it. The Kyrie Irvings, as well as the Ja Morant, the LaMelo Ball, the new upcoming stars, and also, for me, continuing to enjoy that game and just watching, a young player like a kid, Jose at the Pelicans, and the way he's now starting to creep in just a little smidget of the way I play defense, coming behind him, stealing the ball and that sort of thing, putting fresh guy on him 94 feet. So it's been exciting just to be watching.
Mr. Bogues, thank you for taking the time out to talk to me today. We look forward to your book. We look forward to any new projects that your foundation is having in the near future. And also, again, congratulations on your induction to the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame.
For having me, man. I just, again, hope everybody go out there and pick up the book. I mean, it's a good read. It's about relationships, relationships that I had an impact on some of the players that I played with, as well as some of the current players that's playing today, Stephen Curry and Chris Paul. I'm so thankful for those guys. Alonzo and Steph did the forward for me. And, it's about relationships, man. Impact, man. My wife also being able to rekindle after we divorced for 10 years being apart. So that'll give some couples out there understanding how to kind of treat one another and be respectful for each other. So I hope everybody kind of pick it up and also giving back to the community. So I look forward to maybe one day personally seeing you guys and being able to get your handshake, buddy.